of Conscious Straight Talk with Katie and Lindsey.
Hi, my name is Katie Hutchinson, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm also a certified mediator. And happy Friday.
Thank God. I'm Lindsey Kearns. I'm the mama behind MalibuMamaLoves.com, and I'm also a certified conscious trauma-informed life coach. Today we want to talk about a really tough conversation to tackle with your child, and that's to talk to them about their sexuality.
Right. So usually children will come to you after they have seen somebody else that displays a behavior that they relate to. Usually this will be in the LGBTQA community, but it doesn't have to be. And when they come to us, we need to be supportive.
Well, as a parent, we just want our children to be safe, happy, healthy, loved and supported, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And questioning your sexuality is a normal part of growing up. We all do, no matter what gender we are.
Exactly. So when someone starts to question their sexual identity, they may not feel like they're part of the norm. They feel like they're different a lot of the time. And then they start to hide and isolate. And with this comes depression and anxiety, and this is not what we want. It puts them at such a high risk for suicide, for mental health issues, for substance abuse, and for risky sexual behavior. And I'm sorry, right now in the background, I have a three-legged dog that is whining because he wants his mama. So he's my support dog. Sorry, guys. Yes.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between sexual orientation and gender identity.
Okay. So I'm just going to give you an example of myself. So let's say I'm Katie, because I am Katie, and I'm born Katie as a girl, but I feel that I'm a boy inside. So let's just say I'm Ken, because it starts with a K. So inside, I'm a boy. And if I'm attracted, doesn't matter if I've had hormone replacement or any sort of surgery, I just identify as a boy. Let's say I feel that I'm Ken, and I am attracted to other girls. Well, I might say to myself, I'm straight because I'm a boy and I'm attracted to other girls.
That's a great example of gender identity versus sexual orientation. Because your gender identity, doesn't matter what your parts are, you're identifying as a man, right? And you're interested in women, which is the sexual orientation. Just want to make that clear because we see these youths being more commonly victims of violence and hate crimes at a much higher rate than their peers.
Oh my gosh, so much higher rate. And let me give the other example. I'm Katie, but I identify as Ken, so now I'm not Katie anymore. But I'm attracted to girls. No, did I say that before?
No,
I'm attracted to girls.
So
No. I'm Ken, and I'm attracted to boys. So then I'm going to identify as being gay.
Yep.
So there you go.
Well, and that's why having support at home is vital because these kids, it's vital to their mental health. These kids with supportive families have a much greater sense of self and a safety net to fall back on.
And we need to educate ourselves as parents. Educate yourself. You don't know what your child's going to be. You don't know. And you need to be ready to support and love them no matter what.
Yeah. And the support makes them that much more resilient and able to handle it.
Yeah.
So, Katie, tell us, how can we support these kids at home?
Well, it's so important to understand the terms that are being used nowadays and to really learn these terms.
And there's a lot of them. They can be confusing.
They can be very confusing. So we're going to go over what these terms are. We're actually
just did two. We just did sexual orientation and gender identity.
Okay.
So we explained that sexual orientation is describing your feelings for
other
people.
Attracted to men or women.
Or bisexual.
Yeah, or whoever.
Asexual, pansexual, heterosexual. And gender identity
is what you identify as, male or female, or they them, both.
Now this was a new one for me. I never heard of the cisgender,
I had never heard of this either. This is just the gender that you were born with,
you accept it.
You accept it. You are who you were born as. Should I say? Does that make sense?
Assigned at birth.
Okay. Transgender is a person whose gender identity does not match their assigned birth, right? Their sex.
Their sex at birth. Sex parts.
Okay, yes.
No, but that's true. And they're they change. They identify as either male, female, or don't they do both now too? They,
yes, they, thems. Okay, the next one I think is really important is queer, because in the past this was used as a derogatory.
But for us, growing up in the 80s and 90s, just be like, oh, that's queer.
Right.
That's an insult.
It was a derogatory, it was used in a derogatory way. Well, the LGBTQA have reclaimed this term, and they have taken it and they've taken this term and used it as an empowerment. So
I think they kind of use it for the fluidity of your sexual orientation as you grow.
Yeah, yeah. And it can change. It can change. Nice. Yeah.
Questioning is a term that is used to describe when someone is questioning their sexuality. Which
once again goes back to what I say. It is normal human development, child development to question your sexuality. Absolutely. It is, as human beings, we should be questioning everything. We are so smart. And it is normal. So for us, for people to say it's not normal, most people aren't talking about this, but I can tell you it's normal. It even happened to me in college. It's normal.
Yeah, it is. And coming out, we all know, most of us know that that's when the person has made their decision. They're firm in what they are, how they're feeling, what they identify with. They come out to their family, their loved ones, their friends, their community.
I think it's really important to note here, and this is something that's written down, so I'm going to read it. There are different degrees of coming out. Okay, so some people may only tell their friends, or they may only tell their family members, or they maybe only tell other people in the LGBTQA.
Right? They try it out with one person, see how it goes, maybe move to the next, or maybe not tell anyone else.
Right, and then usually, later it takes them time to come out publicly. Everybody is different, but coming out is a process, like I said, that is different for each person. So you need to recognize, like, okay, when the child comes to you, let's say they come to their parents and their parents are accepting and they say, I'm just telling you. Once again, do not tell anybody else. Do not, unless you absolutely have to advocate for your child.
And one more term I want to be clear about. Can you explain LGBTQA? Well, it gets confusing after a while.
So and I believe that we're possibly even missing a term. But so LGBTQA stands for L is for lesbian, G is for gay, B is for bisexual, T is for transgender, Q is for questioning your sexuality, and A is for asexual. And this is somebody that just isn't interested in either sex, isn't interested in anything. And there are people like this. I've even met people like this in my practice. There are.
All I remember is P-flag.
What's P-flag?
Parents and friends of lesbians and gays. I think that's from the 80s, and then it just built all the letters on from there, and it got more confusing for me.
I don't remember P-flag, but yes.
I think they're still going. It's a great group. It's for parents and friends.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah, they do a lot of great stuff. Anyway, so now that we've got most of the terms covered, right, what are some tips for actually talking to these kids? How can we open up the conversation, make it comfortable? What are some tips for that?
Well, we need to create a safe space. So our children need to know that they can come to us. We need to encourage our children. We need to praise them for being open with us rather than shutting them down. Using derogatory language, even before you know what your child is, please don't do that.
Even in joking format.
Even in joking format.
Even they always
because
say
joking,
jokes,
there's something
there's
real in
always
each
some
joke.
Bit of truth to
exactly. That. Or threatening to kick them out of the house.
You never want to say that this is just a phase.
No, don't say this is just a phase. Or disclosing, once again, the information, the private information that they've given you is so harmful. And I want to reiterate what we've said before, that this population, the amount of suicide within this population is huge. It's about 40% more than the rest of the population.
And I just want to give a little support that creating that safe space literally can be one of the hardest things you can do as a parent, because you need to sit there. You need to sit there and just be open and keep your opinions, your fears, your thoughts to yourself, and let your child express them. That's what that safe space is. Opening it up so your kid knows that they can say anything, and you're not going to get up, you're not going to hurt them. You're not going to leave them.
You're going to love them unconditionally.
Yeah, and that's what's so important about the safe space.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Lindsay, but I have had other people within my family, friends, etc., that have said derogatory remarks about the gay community. Yeah. And I shut them down like there is no tomorrow. That is not okay. That is not okay in my house. I shut them down. My children see this. And so that is very important. If you just allow people to come into your house or just friends or whatever to start insulting the LGBTQA community, that's going to show your kids, oh, mom and dad think that that's okay to insult this community, so they must be bad. So I don't want to be a part of that community, but maybe I am a part of that community. Right?
While you're creating that safe space, you really want to honor your child's unique experience. And you can do this by asking specific questions and not sharing yours. Just ask them, open up to them, pull it in. You want to really reinforce that you're there for them, whatever they need. And, you know,
and that you're their safety net. You're their safety net.
As part of being a life coach, you know, one of my main things is I love to remind people is that they are whole and they are resourceful. And that's what the kids need to be reminded. Like, you have the answers inside you. Be patient. I'll go through this with you.
Yeah.
But it's their unique experience. It's different unto literally everybody.
That is very true. And so for you as the parents or the caretakers of this child, find support for yourself. Yeah. If this is the first time you've been around something like this, go educate yourself like we're talking about. Find a community of people that are safe and be gentle with yourself.
You don't have to be mad because you don't have all the answers. None of us are born with all the answers.
And you don't have to be mad that you didn't have the child that you dreamed of, quote unquote.
Well, you probably did. You just haven't figured it out yet.
You did, exactly. The child is wonderful, but you might have had this idea, like I said before, of this.
Well, and society makes us feel uncomfortable with these things, right? So that's why we say, be easy with yourself. You're probably going to be uncomfortable in the beginning. That's okay.
And get your own help. Get your own help. Get your own, and get your own therapy to go through this.
Absolutely.
And get a therapist that is LGBTQA friendly and accepting.
Now, our next tip we've skirted around, and it's not a nice thing that any parent ever wants to hear, but it's the truth, so I'm just going to hit you with it. And this is the biggest thing you can remember. It is not about you. I'll say it again. It is not about you as a parent. This is your child's unique journey. They're trying to discover and learn about themselves. Do we want to repress them and make them feel whatever was done wrong to you in your childhood? Or do you want to break that cycle and change that and encourage them?
Our goal, should I say, is to always want better for our children. I know even my grandfather, who I love so much, he was racist. Was my dad racist? Maybe a little bit. Am I racist? I try really hard not to be. So every generation, it's your choice to go the positive path, the more educated path, or to go down a path where you are judging people.
Well, and that's right. It all goes back to our choices, right? And you can decide, do you want to be miserable and unhappy and throw a fit, or do you want to just, what did they say? When in Rome.
Exactly. When in Rome. Exactly.
Just make it work. You know?
This is huge nowadays. Let's face the facts. It's everywhere. I have children in 3 different schools, and it's everywhere. It's in all the schools. So
don't disclose their stuff without their permission, you guys.
So bad. This is just so bad because you've undermined your child. Your child's not going to trust you. They're not going to want to come to you.
Well, that and rumors spread so quickly. Remember the telephone game? You never know.
And you might tell Susie Q, who you think is confidential and wonderful and whatever, maybe even a therapist or whatever, a psychiatrist, and Susie Q goes and tells everybody in the school, and now your child is possibly getting bullied, and that's your fault. Yeah. So don't do it.
Don't do it. Now our last one is a big tip.
Okay. What is
Ready?
it? Oh!
Be an advocate.
Be an advocate. We need to do it again. One more time. Be an advocate. So important.
That is the most important thing, because you know what? Your kid needs to have somebody have their back. Stand up for them. Learn as much as you can. Go to the rallies, go to the support groups, even start your own. If you're in one of those rural communities and this doesn't exist and your child is going through this, I promise you they're not the only one. And once you go into the school or your church and you start a group, you'll see, they'll flock, they'll come.
And a perfect example of that is, I believe it's called the Brandon Project. And this was a child, I think was transgender. And this child was murdered. He was murdered. He was born a girl, but he was a he. And he was murdered, and so they've started the Brandon Project, and this was in like Alabama or something. Oh, okay. I mean, it was someplace more rural. So
with that, we hope those tips help you guys. Just open up the conversation and talk about it.
Reach out to us. Just reach out to us.
Leave some comments. We would love your tips too. You know, we're all dealing with this and growing together. We'd love to hear from you guys. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here again on Monday.
Bye.